Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life can be a little bit miserable and life can be a little bit dark. So we're here to bring you a little bit of light, a little bit of joy. Because I'm Bradley and joined this week, as always, by Stu. How you doing, Stu?
Yeah, not bad. Like the perennial smell, always lingering. Can't get rid of me.
Yeah. One day I'm going to say it, there'll be someone different on the end.
I know. Yeah. You'll probably have bumped me off by that point because you can't stand me anymore and got a fresh pair of trousers in.
No, I need someone to do the editing. I can't do the editing, so you're safe.
Another schmuck to get that done for you.
I doubt that.
Well.
I doubt that. Who else is actually going to put up to listening to blah, 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 put up with this each and every week? I mean, Lorraine doesn't even want to.
Yeah, you have to start paying them.
Yeah. I can't afford to pay.
Services rendered?
I always look at it when people go, I'm looking for writing gigs and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, we could do... Oh, no, I can't pay you.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
We have no money coming in whatsoever. So, yeah, I can't pay you. Just write for free. And I would never do that to people unless they wanted just to do some free writing just to keep going. It's a weird conversation. Why? I don't know why I'm talking strategy on a podcast.
Well, you know, it's there's got to be a get-rich-quick scheme in there somewhere, I think. You know, if you keep thinking around it, you'll find one and we'll do it. Yeah.
Maybe into the royal family. There's space going apparently now.
Well, yeah, there's a Photoshop gap in there, so yeah.
Apparently she's dead.
Possibly, very possibly.
You can't make jokes. You can't make jokes about the royals apparently because it upsets Piers Morgan.
Oh, we wouldn't want that, would we?
He got angry at Stephen Colbert making jokes about it on one of his late night shows, and but got particularly angry at John Oliver because John Oliver's British, and how dare he? Because what if she was dead? He can't joke about that.
Bloody hell.
And the joke was, it's like, because you're punching up on the royal family. John Oliver turned around and basically said, there's a not 0% chance that Kate Middleton's actually been killed. He said, I'm not saying it's happened, but it's a not 0 chance. And that was the joke. And yeah, Piers Morgan said it's disgusting, blah, blah, blah. Forgetting that John Oliver actually technically isn't British anymore.
No, and the gall of Piers Morgan criticising anybody for bad taste after the things that he's done is just insane.
I mean, what sort of cretin goes after a member of the royal family like that?
Well, apart from us.
Well, no, but I mean, we're not hypocrites. We'll go after all of them.
True.
But what I'm talking about is a certain someone who got offended on behalf of the missing Kate Middleton person going after a certain non-white royal member.
I know.
Who has now left the country, and how he was part of the reason she was hounded out and jumped on that. That's okay.
Yeah, one rule for me, one rule for thee. That's the way he lives his life.
Yes, indeed. He's like, which one is the Poundland version of the other? Okay, Piers Morgan, Jeremy Clarkson.
Ah, that's a good question. I think probably Jeremy Clarkson.
I mean, they're both Poundland.
Yeah. Just because Piers Morgan's richer than Jeremy Clarkson, so, but they're equally bad.
Yeah, they're all bad, aren't they? You know what else is bad, Stu?
What's that?
Certain video games.
Certain video games are bad. You're correct.
And I've got a stinker today.
Nice. I like it when we get stuck into one. That doesn't happen very often.
But I haven't actually got my notes up, so I'm going to let you go first with what you've been playing while I get my notes up.
That'll be my pleasure. So I've been playing Crypt of the Necrodancer SYNCHRONY, which is a DLC for the now 5-year-old game, I think.
I thought it was older than that. Not going to lie. Thought it was older.
Yeah, well, yeah, I know. It feels like it's been around forever because it's one of those, you know, like Inside that becomes like an indie staple and becomes everybody's bought it and it's everywhere. And if you didn't buy it, you probably picked up a free copy from somewhere and just about everybody on the planet owns it. And I didn't. And so, yeah, when you gave me the key, not the secret, but you gave me the key. And I was like, yeah, I'll give this a go because I never played it. And it never appealed because it was... sort of partially roguelike, but partially rhythm. And I really like rhythm games. but I'm not very good at some of them. It depends on how they work. I mean, I loved, the Final Fantasy Theatre Rhythm unpronounceable game, obviously. But this one, for some reason, it just didn't tickle my fancy, even though I probably had a free copy of it anyway. I think they start giving it out, when you hit 18, they give it to you for free or something now. But anyway,
those birthing boxes in Scotland that you get.
Yeah, that's right. It's like that. Yeah. So I just thought I'd stick it on, give it a go, see what it was all about. And it's an unusual game, despite being this kind of like pillar of the indie world. It's still a kind of unusual premise in that you navigate a dungeon. It looks like Gauntlet, but instead of just going around and hitting things by pressing an action button, you attack automatically, but you have to do it to the rhythm. And the nuance comes in the form of the way that the enemies move, which is, they have their own patterns, they have their own defenses, they have their own way of just moving. And it's incredibly, incredibly simple, but, kind of builds into something a bit sophisticated because of the number of moving parts on the screen. And you can totally see why, it's so popular. And one of the reasons I think it's so popular is the music is absolutely fantastic. I was not ready for how good the music was. They're all toe tappers. They have different, beats and cadences, great rhythm, really, really good use of like sort of chiptune effects and all sorts of historic kind of musics. It's obviously a love letter to old video games, 8-bit style. It's a really clever game that acknowledges history and does something new at the same time. And I think that the part that it's hard to pick apart what the SYNCHRONY DLC does when you haven't played the original, but from what I've read, it looks like it adds like a ton of new modes, a ton of new characters, new levels, just new everything. I think it's like a whole revamp, and the number of options in the game is absolutely staggering. The way it lays out the options is brilliant. You never get confused with what you're doing. Whoever put this together from a UX perspective is a genius. It's a really well put together game. So I mean, the question is like, did I like it? And the answer is kind of. I mean, it still never really. It didn't really catch fire with me. I'm not really sure why. I think probably that matching the rhythm thing, I find it quite stressful, ironically. I don't find it a very relaxing experience. I think, when I played that bullets per minute thing, that BPM, a couple of years back, I had the same sort of thing. It was like, oh God, I'm constantly tense because I've got to be meeting this thing. And, that's on me rather than the game. But if you haven't had, I know it's probably... only a 1% chance that you don't already own this in some form. But if you don't own it, I would say if it appeals to you, get it immediately because it's such a good game. It's a brilliant, brilliant game. I was really stunned by it. And, this DLC seems like if you haven't got the DLC, pick it up. I think it's only about $5 and just, adds basically a whole new game's worth of content to it from what I can see. So well, it adds online multiplayer support, which I suck at the game single player, so I've not actually done the online stuff, but it's got it's added in full mod support. I think it's always had, I think, mods before, but it's now built into the game as well, which is really good, as well as the usual sort of there's new tunes, new items, new characters, new enemies, etc. So it's just more. It also says it's got I saw it when I loaded up, there's a weekly challenge mode. Now, I don't know if that was in there before or not, but I'm always big for weekly and daily challenges in games like this, where you decide to go back and just play it. And having a weekly challenge mode where it's I'll just boot it up and do this once a week, I think is a brilliant thing to have in a game such as this. But I suck at it and can't play it. Yeah, no, it is a brilliant feature to have, and I suck at it, and I can play it, but I find it a little bit too tense. And I kind of with things that don't feel like they have a defined endpoint. I know it has, but when it feels like you're playing the same rooms and you're not sure how long it's going to take you to meet the skill criteria to get to a certain place, I find that a little bit difficult. And I know a lot of people, I think people appreciate the familiarity. I think they like the fact that things are, they look similar. They give that off that, you're playing back on your old Atari 2600 sort of vibe or on your C64. I kind of don't. I'm a little bit of a futurist, bit of a modernist. I like old-fashioned graphics, but I do, as a throwback, but I do like things that have picked up and are using the modern style of, like, you know, the way things are laid out has a very distinct pattern to it. They look visually different. They use the power of the machine to make everything look distinct and change frequently. And yeah, so I find that a bit of a struggle as well. It's a little insight into the Stu mind, but it's a brilliant game. It genuinely is, and you can't get around that in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's you know, I love the fact that you've got. So what I like about this, right, and this is something live service games don't get. This is how you continue to support a game beyond its initial release and make money in the right way. They've let the game breathe. They've released it. It's got into as many hands as possible. They've released DLC much later down the line. And then they've gone more DLC down the line. Essentially doing what live service games do, but in a consumer-friendly way, because you don't need to be playing it every single week to make sure you're getting the most out of that DLC. You could get the DLC, hammer it for a week, and then come back to it in 3 years' time and it's still there. Whereas your live service games, which constantly fail with that, is because it requires you to do it as a second job. These games, like Dead Cells, is another brilliant example. Binding of Isaac, as confusing as the Binding of Isaac DLC thing is, because like I don't know what versions you need for what and what versions out, and it's a confusing mess. But at least the games are there. You haven't got to be online. You're not at fear of they're going to shut down the servers and I'm never going to be able to play this again. But you get all the benefits of continued support. And again, the indie devs lead the way. And I think it's brilliant. 2 major DLCs for Crypt and the Necrodancer, a bunch of soundtracks. And I also love that apparently in it you can use your own MP3s if people still have them.
Nice. It's just comprehensive. I know, like you said, it having that
your downloads.
It's great. I love the way they've done it, and they've clearly got a really clever roadmap for it, and they've stuck to it, which is great. Yeah, it's good stuff. It
does remind me every time, like you see a lot of things like Beat Hazard and stuff like that have all got usually their big selling point was import your own music and play your own music to Beat Hazard or Audio Surf and stuff like that. Go back and look at some of the reviews on Steam and stuff, and it's on the discussions. It's people going, "Where's Spotify support? I want Apple Music. Come on." Oh, Jesus. When did MP3s become retro shit?
I know, it's bananas, isn't it? It's totally bananas. Oh, I know. And we've had no development, no progression in the quality of music for so many years because they've stuck to MP3. And now you have your streaming sites, and what do they use? They use MP3 most of the time. Some of them use FLAC, but yeah, it's pretty crap.
Yeah, but we're not going to get into a music discussion because that does get boring. I'm not going to lie, Stu.
True. So, what have you been playing this week?
So, I've decided to go first of all, just get the punching gloves out, what they call boxing gloves out, and I'm going all in on Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Because, oh boy, this is not how you do a collection, remaster, game preservation. We spoke last week about game preservation and the importance of it, and how things like the Tomb Raider collection are actually really good for game preservation and things like that. This is how not to do it. So they've re-released it, the collection. It's got Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2. The originals, not obviously the messes that EA released, because Aspyr, the developers and publishers for it, just went, hold up here, EA, look, we can do this worse. They put out the original games as is, which is fine. I've got no issues with that. But when these games are now predominantly online, and these have always been designed to be multiplayer games. Even going back to the single player of these, and I've done them in the past and tried them on various emulation bits and stuff like that. They've always been designed around the multiplayer, capture the flag, and all things like that. All in them. Conquest modes or whatever. It's all been there. You know, a lot of the modern battlefields are built on this, so to speak. So it's built around that, and it's just a mess. I can't get online games going. I think I've once managed to get into an online game, and it was laggy as hell. And it was crashing. You know, I was getting pauses and stutters, and I just couldn't keep up. Now, not being able to keep up, I would usually blame myself, but it was just, I just couldn't. It just, like, I was shooting, and even I could tell the lag on my shots, and that's just not right. For a game that's technically shouldn't be pushing any boundaries graphically, because I don't know if they've done much up-resing on it. I might be wrong. They've not done much up-resing on it, so it shouldn't be that hard to do. So all of their efforts, if they was going to do this, should have been completely in make the online as buttery smooth as possible, because the games themselves still hold up. They're still great games. People still love them. There's a reason people want collections like this, and why these are so fondly remembered. So it was, all you need to do is get the online, get those servers working, make sure your netcode and everything is all spot on and is all good and working properly, and they've not done it. And it's a disappointment, because the single player, where it's against the bots mainly for everything, it's fine. It works all fine, and it's really, really good to play, and that still feels good. But you can tell the difference when you go online. It's just a mess. And they have released a statement as about like an hour before we recalled about how they're aware of everything and they are working behind the scenes to fix it, but delay the game. If you're not ready, delay the game, because this is just, it's overwhelmingly negative on Steam at the moment, with over 4,000 negative reviews, which suggests that a lot of people wanted this. This is a game people wanted, and your initial impression is just, oh, it's not good. And do you know the size of it? It's 72 gigabytes for the two games.
What?
And I don't know why. I must be missing something, because I don't know why it's that big. Because visually, everything, like the menus still look like they're from like the original era and stuff like that. So they're not like really up-resed or anything like that I can notice. It works, you know. What I will say, single player works brilliantly on Steam Deck. I'm not going to lie about that. That's pretty good. But online, it's just a mess. And I don't know where they got 72 gigabytes from. It's weird. Yeah.
Well, I suppose they have a load of that anti-cheat code chucked in, but I mean, even that shouldn't be like that size. Jesus Christ, that's bananas. But yeah. I mean, it's there's a huge sort of market now for this, isn't there? For these legacy classic collections coming out, and I think with the next 3 years or so, we're going to see billions of these things popping up, and I think the hit rate is going to be about 50%.
Yeah.
You know, for every Tomb Raider, you're going to get this Star Wars Battlefront collection, and it sounds like they've done it on the cheap. To be honest, just not bothered having the infrastructure for it.
They have that. That's the weird thing, because it's very basic, but this is the team that done the Tomb Raider remaster, so they know what they're doing there, and that had everything to it. They redone Fahrenheit remaster, which was a decent remaster, and Stubbs the Zombie remastered, which also was a good remaster. You know, regardless of what you think about the quality of the actual games, they're good remasters. I don't know what they've done. It's as though what those games have got, they're all single player games. This is an online multiplayer game, and I think that's where they've messed up. I couldn't tell you whether this was true or not, but apparently they only had 3 servers up for it on release day.
Wow. That's mental.
Which would explain why I probably couldn't get games.
Yep. There, they've either underestimated the popularity or they've just been incredibly cheap, or a combination of both.
I'm gonna go. I don't want to say I hate using the word incompetence, but I'm gonna say maybe a bit of incompetence and naivety with the online. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and what I hope, because I think this is an important stage for game preservation with what's happening with Yuzu, emulators, Nintendo and everything, and we'll come on to another collection soon. This is important, especially games that now have the online focus to them as well. So I hope what these guys can do is turn it around and get these servers working, because gameplay wise, don't get me wrong, it's brilliant. It's still Star Wars Battlefront, and single player against bots, while you don't get the aspect of like human interactivity with it, still works brilliantly. And you got all the you still do like the flying of your spaceships and your what's that thing called in Star Trek? Just to wind people up again, that they fly
warp speed.
The Enterprise. You still get to fly the Enterprise around. Yeah. It's the Millennium Falcon, I know, and X-Wings and Star Winds or whatever. I know, and you get to fly all the bikes and stuff and do all the shooty things, and it's got all the set pieces. All that is still there, but it's completely buggered by the worst online implementation I think I've ever seen. And yeah, I just, if I'm wrong and I'm missing something, I'm missing a magical button, and I did look and I couldn't see it. If I'm missing a magical button that suddenly turns this into looking like a modern day masterpiece in terms of visuals, then that's on me. But I can't see it anywhere. It still looks like it's like slightly... do you know how you up-press in an emulator? Like PCSX2, and you get like 4 times resolution by doing a couple of settings. It looks like that, which is fine. It doesn't look ugly, it looks good, but 72 gigabytes.
Unbelievable.
I can't fit that on my Ambinic.
Oh, that's insane, isn't it? That's insane.
But hopefully they turn it around. If they do, I will report back, because I have got fond memories of Star Wars Battlefront games, and all like that whole era as well. The the Rogue Squadron games and stuff like that. I have got such fond memories of them that I want them to do well, and to bring them to a new, to show up how badly. I mean, maybe it's the Battlefront thing. Maybe that's what you've got to do. You've got to completely mess up Battlefront to start with before you can sort of rescue it, like EA did with Battlefront 2.
Maybe. Oh, we'll see, won't we?
Yeah, it's not trying to sell me a pink Darth Vader, though.
No. I don't want one of them. Thank you.
I mean, I don't mind a pink Darth Vader, but just let me do it. I don't want to buy it or have to rank up for 100 million hours to do it. If I want a pink Darth Vader, give me a pink Darth Vader.
Yeah, give me a pink. I think that's the name of the show this week.
Pink Darth Vader, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Go with that one, because you didn't go with my idea the other week. The Joey Barton's a prick title.
I know. Yeah, I have to keep you in check sometimes.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I'm coming on to something that's got a much better collection soon. But what's your next one, Stu?
Well, my next one is an absolute banger. So, I've been waiting for this for a long time. It's Unicorn Overlord, which is the latest Vanillaware game. And I'm not sure if we were going. I don't know if the podcast was going when they released their last game, 13 Sentinels, the Aegis Rim, which came out in 2020. I don't think we quite were, but... they only release games every few years. If you've not seen them before, they're very, very stylized, kind of hand-drawn, 2D sprite style games that use some really nice...
We've spoken about Vanillaware before.
We definitely have, haven't we? Yeah. Some of it a little bit problematic, which we'll come to, but generally just absolutely beautiful artwork, and they release quite rarely. They're not prolific, but their biggest hit was probably Dragon's Crown, which came out on the PSP and the PS3, and then got all the ports.
The Vita, not the PSP.
Oh, sorry, yes, it was the Vita, wasn't it? And
I still play that. That's still good.
It's an absolute cracker, and amazing looking games. And I was so excited for the next game after that, and it took 7 years to come out, because it was 2013 Dragon's Crown, and it took 7 years to come out, and then I really didn't like it. I was so disappointed. I tried really hard to like 13 Sentinels, but I didn't like it's like a romance adventure story kind of thing, like a visual novel mixed with an RTS, and I didn't like either of them. I don't like them as a standard, the visual novels, and RTS have to be good for me to like them, and it wasn't good. It was bland. So yeah, it was a complete fail. So fast forward 11 years on since Dragon's Crown, they've released this one, and it's an absolute banger, like I say. So if you played Grand Knight's History, which was the one before Dragon's Crown, that came out on the PSP, that one did come out on the PSP, that was an absolute superb game, and it was kind of a hybrid tactical RPG style adventure game. This one takes up the reins of that a little bit. It's kind of similar. It's a weird, although in a positive way, mash up between a tactical RPG and a strategy game. You basically, in classic Vanillaware style, they want to do as much as they can on a 2D side-scrolling plane. They'll turn anything into a 2D side-scroller, no matter what the genre is. And it's very much in Grand Knight's History sort of style of medieval warfare and knights with this slight fantasy edge to it, and it's just great. So what makes it stand apart, I think, is it gently introduces you to the world. It layers on the complexity. You have that nice kind of cutscene bit where you meet new characters and they can get introduced into your teams. Then you kind of take them into battle. The battles look great. They're very punchy. You can fast forward them if you want to, or you can skip them entirely and let them auto play out.
Yes.
Yeah, which is absolutely so good. It's so good because it's just so important to this style of game. It looks amazing. The character sprites are fantastic. The action's great. And the things that really stand out for me are just like, as I say, the nuance, the layer of tactics that get built up without becoming overwhelming. And things like, you don't fight in real time. You set the strategy and then it plays out. But the amount of tweaking you can do behind the scenes, and each one of them is really simple. It's like, where do you place... You have like a little chess grid of where you can place your players before they attack. And it's like, well, where do you place them? Because each one has a strategic value. And depending on what character you use, that has a different value. So, some things are good against armour, some are better against cavalry, some, defeat aerial enemies. And then, as it's teaching you this, more enemy types and more hero types appear, and the strategy deepens and deepens and deepens. So you've got the lovely kind of regular top-down view overworld, which you navigate around, lots of conversation, good... The script is good. It's a little bit dry. It's a bit serious. There's no real humour in there, which is the only kind of drawback to the entire game. But it's still an interesting story. It looks amazing. The tactics are there. The battles are punchy, fast. If you fail... Well, okay, so the fail condition is maybe a little bit of a challenge as well, because there's lots of difficulty settings, which is great, but the fail conditions are quite strict. So you can fail on several things, and one of them is time limit. And I know a lot of people don't like time limits in games because they find them really restrictive, and like I do with the rhythm, they can find it a bit tense. But I don't mind it. But it is definitely
I need like time limited stuff. I turn that off wherever possible because I need time to actually look at something because of my vision issues. I can't go, all right, I've got 30 seconds to do this. It might take me a minute to actually work out what's what on the screen on something clear. Let alone something that's as stylised and busy as a Vanillaware game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit kind of like that, but it does pause the the timer when you're making decisions. It's just when things are in motion. But if you make a decision that's wrong, or you send your troops off in the wrong direction, or you need to rally them and bring them back to an outpost to recharge their stamina and things like that, you lose a shitload of time, and then you're buggered basically and have to restart. And you kind of invested quite a long time into that section. So from that perspective, it can be a bit much. But it's part of the time. Time management is part of the game, and as long as you're ready for that, you'll still get on with it okay. But so far, it's probably the best game I've played this year. It's absolutely gripping. I keep thinking about it when I'm not playing it, and it's an absolute superb release from Vanilla. I'm glad they're really back on form.
Oh, and technically second best game you've played this year, because I see you have played some Balatro. So
I was going to mention Balatro.
God, before I get on, how are you getting on with Balatro?
Oh, I can't stand it. No, very joking. No, no. Even I like Balatro. Me, the arch kind of card game disser. No, it's great. It's a really good game. I'm really enjoying it. I can't really say any more than you said, but it's definitely an all timer, I think. And really, really good.
Yeah, I think you'll be someone who goes like, I don't think you would say it's perfect. But if we're like, I said it's the perfect game, but obviously that's all personal. When you talk about perfection, it's personal, and I can't pick anything wrong with it at all. But the fact you're enjoying that sort of game with it speaks volumes from what it actually is. So there you go. It gets the double seal of approval on this podcast. There you go.
It does. 2 thumbs up.
Unlike Star Wars Battlefront collection.
No. Hopefully you're moving on to something a little bit more pleasant.
So, moving on to how you do games preservation, and what for me should be the standard bearer now of games preservation and sending it back to you, because this is a collection of games that I could very, very easily emulate, but what you've presented here is it's Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter story, which is essentially a documentary museum with a bunch of his games playable. Unfortunately missing stuff like TXK because of licensing issues, which is a shame because it's his best one of recent years. But it's stuck on the Vita and will never be able to come out elsewhere, which is a shame. But you go through sort of like all his history, all the Tempest games, like Grid Runners in there, Attack of the Mutant Camels, everything's in there. And it's beautifully presented on like this timeline. You can go through, you could like either just do a list of the games and play a list of the games. You can go through, you get little short documentary snippets from from Jeff himself, other people, and like about specific games or specific times, his personal life. Lots of videos of llamas, which is brilliant, because who doesn't want to see videos of llamas? You just get like a load of written stuff in there, artwork, promotional material, just absolutely everything. And it's like, do you know when you go to like the British Museum or something and you get to go and see like the old like Roman daggers and stuff like that? We all know that it's all nice looking at the Roman daggers, but you want to pick up a Roman dagger and stab someone with it. That's what it's for. You want to go and stab someone in the back, right? You can't do that in the British Museum. You can with them. Well, you can't pick up a dagger because obviously it's not a dagger. You go, it's a really interesting game. I'm like learning a bit here. What's it like to play? Just go and play it. And it's brilliant. There's a remastered version of Grid Runner. I forgot how bloody hard Grid Runner was. I suck at it. The original and the remaster. But I don't care. It's still brilliant. Jeff Minter is amazing. This collection is absolutely stunning. And along with, I don't know if these are the same people who did Atari 50 or not, Digital Eclipse. But that's another one that was really, really good as a collection. And they're also the ones who published the Cowabunga collection as well, the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary collection, Disney Afternoon collection, and all things like that. So once again, what they're showing, I think they also did SNK collection. So what they're doing is showing how you do collections. But this one is the best of the best. This is the new standard bearer of this is what preservation should be. I know we've not got everything, and that is a shame, but that's due to licensing. But as you know, we can fill the gaps ourselves if we have to, and because it's digital distribution. And it's like standalone as well. They can add DLC to this. They can add extra games if they manage to acquire the license. You know, if they manage to broker something for TXK, they could add it to this, and that would be amazing. And people would buy it and maybe get the story of why was TXK stuck in licensing hell. Like you hear about the licensing issues with Tetris. That's a brilliant story. And the documentary about, not the film was shit, right? But the documentary around the Tetris stuff, the licensing and everything that goes on with it, that was fascinating. And what I was like, imagine playing, like getting to watch all the story of Tetris and play the different versions of Tetris through the years. That'd be amazing. And this is what it should be. A Sonic collection shouldn't just be, re-releasing all the original Sonic games again. I want this for a Sonic collection. What was the original, let's talk about the original design of Sonic, like before he became Sonic, because he was something else before, and I can't remember what he was. Like, but when he became Sonic, why they took the decisions to go to green-eyed Sonic and give him more attitude and things like that. The disaster of the 3D games, and how do the developers and the team behind it, how they feel about the Sonic cycle. That would be amazing, because this is all the input you get with the Llamasoft story, the Jeff Minter story. Is you get people talking about the love of the games, what went right, what went wrong, how did this come to be, what was the influences, what about the private lives. It is absolutely stunning. And I said, I've barely played the games because the documentary side of it is amazing. But when I did get to play the games, and I went, do you know what? I really enjoyed that thing about Tempest 2000. Let's put on Tempest 2000. Oh my God, Tempest 2000 is still brilliant. And that's what this should be. This is what all future collections should be. There's no excuse.
Yeah. No, that is great. That is really great. And I think, people have kind of lived with games long enough now that they want that kind of history relayed to them. And I think maybe also partly because of the success of like No Clip documentary series, and Twitch, where people are commentating on games. There's so much more about the experience than there is just about the interaction with it, that you can weave them together well, like you just explained, with this. And yeah, you're right, Atari 50 is by them, and I had that one, and it is a really good way of presenting it. And it sounds great. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the games because I find the skill ceiling a bit high on them, and I also find the visuals a bit hard to sort of pass to when I'm playing, to work out what to do and stuff. But I've been playing them more of late. Like the high contrast of them I find really beneficial to me, and that I can play them better than I can a lot of modern games, because it's so especially like the Tempest games and things like that. The black background with the simple sprites makes it really easy for me to follow. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I played one of them in VR, one of the Tempests, and that worked really well in VR. That extra depth was very, very handy. But this sounds like a great collection. Not one I'll pick up, but it sounds like a standard bearer.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. I mean, it's like, as I said, the games are secondary. That's almost like a nice bonus. This would be... Again, I think the only thing I could come out with is, do you remember the indie game, the movie?
I do, yeah.
Where they done the documentary Super Meat Boy stuff. If by the end you watch that, you got to actually play Super Meat Boy on the DVD or whatever this is what this is. And not all the games hold up, and don't get me wrong, there's a few games I went on for 5 minutes and went, I've done that now, that'll do. I don't think I want to go back to that one, because it's from 1987 and it's not aged particularly well. Everything's better, it doesn't control as well as I remember, and there are games like that, but they're there. And it's a great thing, I can show, like one day, I'll sit down baby Edith when she's talking about video games and go, look at the core design that's here. Look at these games. Look how good they were. Look how far they've come. And things like that. And it's just a great thing to have. As I say, stark contrast to the Silent Hill remasters or Star Wars Battlefront collection. It's the night and day difference on what love and care can do when you actually want to bring something to the audience like this.
Brilliant. Yeah, let's hope we get much more like it. Yeah.
Yep. What would you choose if you had to do one? What would it be?
What, a collection or
like this, like documentary, all the old, like a documentary stroke museum stroke play some of the games.
Well, I think what immediately jumps to mind is Street Fighter, because there's so many of them, and the nuances. There's more nuance in there than you'd expect, and I think that would work really well.
Yeah, there is a collection that to add all the other stuff to it, like this. Yeah, I think it's there. I've already blown my load with this one, but I think Tetris. For me, there's so many variants of Tetris. They could get some of the clones on a documentary style thing for that as well. Because you get something like some of the really bad clones, but you also get the funny ones where it was like the porn version, where you had little like really rubbish naked sprites, so you had to put them together. And stuff like that, and it was rubbish, but you could get it on Flash, or like you should play it online on the browser when you're meant to be working or doing college work and stuff like that. All stuff like that added in. It's just like so many games in history, and again, like we said, a Silent Hill collection with all that, because again, you get Sam Barlow in to talk about Homecoming. Was it he did? Or no, he done the water one. The rainy one, Downpour, I think. The better of the modern Silent Hills, anyway, with a good story. He done that one. But to talk about, what he wanted to bring to Silent Hill, and then it's all there. That sort of thing. Resident Evil, you can do it with all of those as well. And hell, even EA Sports games. Okay, yes, there's a license in hell with those, but again, they're fascinating. You go through the history of Madden. It's a fascinating story, why they got John Madden involved, what he brought to it. Would it have been as big without him? Why did they decide to have an exclusive? All this stuff is interesting. And if EA done something like that, obviously they'd sell it to us as a live service at about like £900. But this, I'll just point out, is £25, by the way, for 40 years of gaming. A brilliant documentary and a museum. Yeah. You haven't even got to go and buy an expensive lunch in the cafeteria.
Nice. I like those expensive lunches though. But just before I forget, no, I just looked it up. I was wrong. It's Silent Hill Shattered Memories.
Shattered Memories. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Sorry, Sam, if we got you confused, because I don't want to associate you with one of the really bad ones.
Of which there are many, yes. But Shattered Memories is not one of them. That's a cracker.
No, it's really good, and it's the best story since Silent Hill 2.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, yeah.
2, 1, Shattered Memories, in that order.
Yep. Yeah, forget the rest, pretty much. Although 3 is okay. It's
3,
passable.
do you know what? I've got a soft spot for The Room. It's not the greatest, and it's not a good Silent Hill game, but it's a good game. If it wasn't Silent, it's like, Hitman Absolution and one of the Splinter Cells and stuff like that. Good games, just not good in their series. The Room is one of those. It's a good game, just not a good Silent Hill game.
Yeah, it's a bit janky by modern standards, but it's got a good core game to it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Silent Hill's a bit janky by modern standards.
Well, true. True.
Apart from that running through the alley bit for the first time, that still gets me. That camera swing. Oh, I could like tell you what, do a whole documentary museum thing on just that one scene, because I love that scene. Yeah. Under Control, first time that hit me was like, oh my god, we're in a modern world. I'm playing a movie.
That's great. Yeah, that makes me think of doing Resident Evil in this sort of collection as well. That'd work really well.
Oh, there's so many. I hope it does well, because it gives someone else the opportunity to go, right, let's do it with something maybe a bit more well known. Because no offence to Jeff Minter, I don't think, like, my partner doesn't know what a Jeff Minter is. My son won't know what a Jeff Minter is, for example. Someone who's got a couple of consoles down the road not going to know what a Jeff Minter is, but they're all going to know what a Sonic is or a Street Fighter is. So hopefully this does lead to maybe a bigger title getting the same treatment and not just cashing in.
Absolutely. Yeah, fingers crossed.
I love you, Jeff Minter, though. I know who you are. Sorry, what? Who, Jeff Minter?
Oh, I thought you said Judge.
Not Judge. Jesus Christ. You don't even. She thought I said Judge Rinder.
Oh, right. Oh, him, yeah.
Should we do a Judge Rinder game anthology collection?
I'd buy that.
Would you?
Well, no, probably not.
But I'm going to finish on this highly positive note of Jeff Minter is the best. The collection is the best. We set a new modern standard, a new standard. Let's move forward and do it all like that. I'm going to shut up now and pass over to you.
Excellent. Yeah. And now talking about that has made me absolutely want those collections right away. Especially by Capcom. So yeah, Capcom, get on it and do it straight away. But so that will be it for this week. As usual, follow us on all socials, see all of our content on the website, join us on Discord if you want to chat, and until next time, in the meantime, stay safe and stay sane.